Jose and Kitty Menendez, and I think the year 1989, were sitting watching television. Suddenly, their two sons came into the room, Eric and Lyle, and in cold blood killed them. Terrible thing, killing their own parents. There was a jury, there was a hung jury. I think the first time and the second time, it was decided to give them a life sentence, two consecutive life sentences to each for the murder of each of their parents. It is now, I think, 35 years have passed, and the cases are coming up again. Should they be given parole? Should we put a limit to that sentence, or let them continue in jail? What is the purpose of jail? Is it punishment, or is it re-education of the one that committed the crime, or is it both? You know, I think we want an admonition to people who would about to commit a similar crime. Watch out. You may be in jail for the rest of your life. You may be sitting in an electric chair for all you know, and your own life will be terminated. In other words, it's instructive, or is it basically to re-educate the people? Well, as I say, probably both, something of both. The question before us is really, after 35 years, I think, or something like that, they're already in their 50s. Should we put a stop to their incarceration? You know, let them out of jail under certain rules, of course, vigilance. Those who say, let him out. Would you be willing for him to live in the same block as you if you have little children, for instance? Would you like that? Would you give him a job? What kind of life could they have, really, if they were to leave jail? Do they have relatives that would help them? Would anybody employ them? Would you want to have them near you? Maybe there's some noble souls that would say to the contrary, they have suffered so much, they have learned, they have grown emotionally during all these years, and they have paid their debt to society in a certain way. Someone may ask, what kind of parents were these Jose and Kitty that they engendered two monsters? What kind of example did they give with their own life? It seems Eric and Lyle complained that the father abused them in many ways, and the mother was indifferent to that abuse. These boys have the same DNA as their parents. Well, I don't think that's excuse. No, you can't say I grew up in poverty, I grew up with only one parent and therefore I'm a criminal. No. Each and every human being has the responsibility of leading a moral life. We are capable enough to overcome all the restrictions that we have and try to do something. There are examples, of course. There are J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States. Look at the background he had and look at what he did. Well, that's one J.D. Vance. Not everybody's J.D. Vance. But the idea is that a human being has the potential to do that. Our question goes back again. What are we going to do with these two? You want them to live forever in jail? Or do you want to give them a chance to somehow make over their life a little bit, whatever is left of their life? Well, they may have many years ahead. They're in their early 50s, I believe, or something like that. Middle 50s, something like that. They still have probably many years to go. What would you do? I thank God that I'm not the judge that has to decide this. Very difficult. But without being the judge, inside me, I will let them go. I believe in giving a second chance. This is what happened, according to the Bible, after the first crime was committed. God introduced the notion of teshuvah. Teshuvah means forgiveness. I am sorry for what I did. atonement for my crime. I want to redo my life. In other words, there is no such thing that I've reached a certain point of no return in life. No matter what I did, I want to redo my life. I would like to think that way. As I say, I don't want to be the judge to have to decide what they have to do, because who knows what will happen afterwards. Maybe I'm a coward. I don't want to be responsible for it. But my inner gut tells me, maybe give him a second chance. What do you think? What should be done with these two Menendez? They're criminals. No question about it. But their parents probably weren't saints either. But that doesn't excuse what they did. What shall we do? Shall we watch over them after they leave, parole with certain restrictions? Or shall we let them spend the rest of their days in life? What do you think? I told you what I feel. But I'm glad that I don't have to decide. I just told you what I feel. What do you think? Think about it.